The extremely well-known BBC Panorama documentary maker John Sweeney is coming to Dublin this weekend to talk at an anti-Scientology conference called Scientology. Enough is enough. Good evening to you, John.
Good evening. Just
for those who aren't familiar, what exactly is Scientology?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Now, first of all, everybody, I don't know if you've heard the clip of me going bonkers with a leading Scientologist called Tommy Davis.
We're going to play that in a minute. Should we play it now first?
Play it now so you can hear the essence of a Scientologist and someone like me debating the issue.
All right, this is from BBC Panorama.
You have no right whatsoever to say what and what isn't a religion. The Constitution of the United States of America guarantees one's right to practice and believe freely in this country. And the definition of religion is very clear, and it's not defined by John Sweeney. And for you to repeatedly refer to my faith in those terms is so derogatory, so offensive, and so bigoted, and the reason you keep repeating it is because you wanted to get a reaction like you're getting right now. Well, buddy, you got it. Right here, right now. I'm angry. Real angry.
Very good.
So we're done, because if you use that term one more time to describe my religion...
We're not done.
I can't be responsible for my actions.
Now, my friend,
so,
it is
John,
your turn to listen to... No, it's your turn to listen to me. I'm a British subject, not an American citizen, and in my country we have a freedom of speech. I have a right to report that.
No, Tommy, you stop! No, listen to me! You were not there at the beginning of that interview! You were not there! You did not hear or record all the interview! Do you understand?
Brainwashing is a crime.
Did you understand?
Against humanity.
You are quoting the second half of the interview! Not the first half! You cannot discern what you're...
Okay, John, I actually, maybe it's because of Scientology we're talking about, I suddenly have memories of Tom Cruise and Show Me the Money. But tell us a little bit what that was all about, please.
What's very surreal is that happened 7-8 years ago, and I'm sitting in a radio studio on my own in London, listening to me going nuts, and I have to do this. I apologised then, and I apologise now. I'm sorry that I lost my temper. But boy, was I provoked, I would say. And the church says that I'm a bigot, a psychotic and a liar. A church blogger has said I'm genuinely evil. I drink too much, but I don't think I'm genuinely evil, nor do my family and friends. Essentially, what Scientology? Big question. Scientology says it's a force for good, and people like Tom Cruise and John Travolta, they're big celebrity stars, say it helps you communicate, helps you understand the world better. Ex-members of Scientology love the clip of me screaming my head off, and they say it's the iconic image, the symbol of the Church of the Scientology in the 21st century. So they say that Scientology isn't a good thing. It isn't a church or a religion. It's a confidence trick. It's kind of like the mafia, like the Coca-Cola Corporation, and a brainwashing cult, all three wrapped into each other. The church deny this. They say the people who criticize them are losers, sad, pathetic. Some of their details of the people who've left sexual, embarrassing sexual things in their past have been aired in public. Now, that's a bit weird, and there's a great big issue about when you're in the church, you tell your you go to confession, what they call it, auditing, and they tape it. Now, in the Catholic Church, we all know it's a mortal sin for a priest to tell anyone else what happens inside the confessional. Scientologists tape that. And a big worry is, does the Church of Scientology have a hold over its members? Will they, if they leave, will they let some of these secrets out? Or is the fear of that happening keeping people in who would otherwise rather leave?
Okay, take a step back. Do Scientologists believe in God?
Good question. It's hard to know, because they say essentially there are lots of steps in it. Each step you pay money. The big step, and this is something they say, that this is information which will kill you, me, and all the listeners. I've been telling everybody I know, millions of people on the telly, for 7, 8 years, and I'm still very much alive. And it's this. 75 million years ago, Scientologists who reached a certain stage, which is called operating thetan level 3, discover that 75 million years ago, a space alien, Satan, called Lord Zenu, brought space aliens to Earth and massacred them with hydrogen bombs inside volcanoes. And the remains of these dead, pesky space aliens have stuck to our souls and our minds and are the cause of humanity's wrongs and ills. So the reason we go to war, the reason we do crazy things, the reason of madness, the reason we're ill is because we're infected with the souls of dead space aliens.
Is that not in a Marvel comic?
And it was a bad science fiction story by a bad science fiction writer called L. Ron Hubbard. And then he turned it into a religion, or so he said. Now, here's my sort of philosophical issue with this. Philosophical is a fancy word, but never mind. And it's this. As you could say, many of your listeners might be saying, well, hold on a second, what's the difference between this and the Catholic Church or Islam or Judaism, blah, 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 blah. And I would say, well, how about this? You walk into a church, they'll tell you about baby Jesus, about how Christ died and then he was risen and he'll come again. How you go to a mosque and they'll tell you, follow the prophet. You go to a synagogue, marry a nice Jewish girl, don't eat bacon sandwiches, whatever. The point about all the big religions is you can find out what they believe in straight away for free. Scientology's secret, the one about the space alien Satan and the massacre 75 million years ago, may cost you £1 million, €1 million, maybe $500,000. It may cost you 20 or 30 years of your life. It's a pay-as-you-go religion, and I would argue there's no such thing.
You move up the levels, is it, depending on how long you're inside the organisation and how much you pay for revelations of knowledge?
Yes, and that's wrong. I also feel, and I have a soft spot for the, and only my colours to the mast here, I have a soft spot for the Church of England because they have nice buildings and you can believe in anything and nothing in the Church of England and nothing will happen to you. But actually, there's a bigger point to this. Is I believe that people have a right to believe in whatever they want to believe in, and that, funnily enough, includes Scientology. And I will defend that right. People have a right to believe in this stuff if they want to, but equally, there is another right. There's a right to question, a right to sort of criticise, and a right to mock, and the two rights should be held together. I.e., in some kind of balance, a right to believe and a right to question. And you can't have, and I don't think it's right, that you should have a right to believe and no right to question. And there's a very specific example of this. Tom Cruise and John Travolta regularly go on talk shows in the States, in Ireland, in London, across the world. And no one ever asks them, it seems, about this thing called Scientology they believe in, they're into. What about it? Is it a bit dark? It doesn't have to be, a big inquiry, a couple of questions, and it never happens. So there you have the imbalance. They have a right to believe in what they believe in, but nobody, it seems, certainly in their world of showbiz, has a right to ask them the question or is allowed to ask them the question.
But I suppose, John, nobody asks them about their sexual history and sexual behaviour either.
No, but that's private. That's completely private. But Cruise's enthusiasm for the Church of Scientology, ex-members say, is a manipulative cult, is not private, it's public.
And who gets the money?
Well, now remember the church says that I'm a liar, psychotic and a bigot and genuinely evil. And I think they say I'm a drunk. And anyway, I've got lots of problems, none of which Scientology, it seems, can help me with. However, the money ends up, it seems, in the hands of the people at the top, and they would be Tom Cruise, who's a very senior Scientologist, and the Pope is a man called David Miscavige. There are allegations about his conduct which are denied, and there are 2 films coming out at the moment, both of which air similar allegations to what we did in the BBC in Panorama in 2007, 2010, and I've written a book about them called Church of Fear. By the way, no major British publisher would publish the book, so my agent did, but you can get it on Amazon via Kindle. And
why would nobody publish it?
Because they were afraid.
Of what?
Now, of letters, legal, of massive lawsuits. The church threatens to sue. In my experience, doesn't sue, but it threatens to sue. They have a fancy law firm in London called Carter Ruck, and they wrote my agent, who was my publisher, a letter saying, you do this, you will be in trouble. And we went ahead and nothing happened. I've got about 7 ex-members of the church who were high up in the Sea Org, the Holy Order, and they say that they will come to court. If I am sued, they will come to court and stand by me and tell the world the truth about Scientology, and that means it's kind of like a Mexican standoff. The church threatens me, but it doesn't actually pull the trigger.
You're coming to Dublin this weekend. Why? What's the objective? What good do you think you're talking at this anti-Scientology conference will do?
Can I make a confession?
You can.
Some people.
But the thing is, this is one of these confessions that will be publicly aired, unlike those of the Catholic Church.
Good. Some men play golf, some have model railways. My hobby is annoying the Church of Scientology.
You still call it a church, though.
I do, but I think with heavy irony. No, I feel that the church went out of its way to try and stop me. The clip of me losing my temper is embarrassing and it's humiliating. And it's also an iconic symbol of what the church is like in the 21st century to me and many ex-members. And so I feel that until, for example, somebody on one of these chat shows asked Tom Cruise or John Travolta, what's this thing called Scientology? It's my duty as a citizen to keep on raising these questions, to keep on asking them. If this thing is so good, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of a couple of silly old fuddy-duddy critics? I mean, if the God is big and strong, it can surely bear a little bit of criticism. So I do this because, for me, it's an important issue of free speech. The church has tried to shut me up, and I am not having any of that. I assert my right to speak. I assert my right to question and to criticise this thing.
John Sweeney, thank you very much for joining us.
The last word.